So you've already seen all the videos about these new $20 Chifi IEMs, but you don't know how they stack up to each other because they're like a few months apart in the release date. Well, you're in luck, because today we'll be pitting the Moondrop Chu, the Salnotes 0, Truthear Hola, and Tangzu Wan'er to see which is the most suited for the title of the Budget Chifi King. So without further ado, let's begin. Let's start with the boxes that these IEMs come in. The Chu gets a cardboard box with a transparent plastic top and the always nice waifu art card. The Salnotes 0 I don't have the box for, but from other reviews it seems to have just a KZ style box with an inner and outer sleeve. Onto the Hola, you get a low profile box with the Chifi waifu sticking out to the side. And finally, there's the Wan'er with its very big box. Full color printing, so it's kind of the standout of the four in terms of its unboxing presentation. Now going to what you get included with these four $20 champs, the Chu includes spring tips in 3 sizes, along with some terrible but still included ear hooks, and a cramped, cheap feeling carrying pouch that's at least still there, and a good amount of documentation to go with it as well. Now on the Salnotes 0, the package is more bare bones with just 6 pairs of ear tips and some manuals. The Truthear Hola's inclusions are quite decent though, with a decent carrying pouch, although still a little crusty feeling, 7 pairs of tips on a dedicated plastic holder, and additional documentation with a waifu art card / info card, kinda like the Chu. Now with the Wan'er, you're getting bootleg Akustun AT07s, along with generic narrow bores, no cases or manuals unfortunately, but you do get the cool art cloth, which is quite an upgrade from the art cards. Now let's take a look at the IEMs themselves. The Chu is the only one of the 4 to rock a metal build, with the smallest shell, and it does feel quite substantial due to its metal makeup. However, it is also the only set with a non-removable cable, and said cable is also pretty thin and flimsy looking. I must also note that there are paint chipping issues noted with the Moondrop Chu, as well as some reports of volume imbalance. And whilst I haven't experienced it with my personal unit, there's a good many Chus that have exhibited these problems, so make note of that. Now with the Salnotes 0, you get a plastic bill with a metal front plate. The shape itself here is decently ergonomic, but the plastic being used is the cheapest I've seen out of the 4 that we're looking at. You do get a removable 2-pin cable, but it's also really bad, and the only praise that I can give it is that you can swap it out for something else. For the Truthear Hola, you get a resin build with a standard looking shell, and I quite like the looks of the Truthear Hola with its sort of geometric pattern printed on. Although the resin that's being used feels very roughly finished, almost like a prototype shell. Still, the cable of the Hola is the best out of the 4, with supple wires that might look deceptively cheap, but are actually very nice feeling. Going to the Tangzu Wan'er, you're getting a KZ-like IEM. Then that means transparent plastic with a good amount of glue kind of keeping everything together. It should be decently durable, but well, I do not like the KZ style. It sort of invokes a cheap feeling, I'd say. Now Wan'er uses a QEC 2-pin style connector, and its cable is also horrible, with uneven braiding and very cheap feeling jacks and Y-splitters. Overall, you shouldn't be looking at any of these IEMs for their build quality. At the $20 price point, all 4 of these use varying levels of cheap feeling plastic, or they use metal but suffers from paint issues. This is still one of the drawbacks of low-priced Chifi. The build is still all over the place. And now to the main attraction, it's the sound. All 4 of these IEMs have a similar sound signature with a sub-bass boost and an IEF style upper mid-range rise, but they all do things a little different, which perhaps doesn't make them complementary, but it certainly gives them unique traits and qualities while still looking similar on frequency graphs. So first of all, the Moondrop Chu goes for a mostly neutral, bright-ish tuning. It's got reserved bass that's best suited for lighter genres of music, and a lower mid-range that is neutral, upper mids that are clean and without much distortion, However, it suffers from a slight piercing effect on male vocals and an unimpressive but competent treble. On the technical front, the Chu is decent for its price, with its standouts being the imaging, which is somewhat better than the other three IEMs, though not by a significant margin. Next up, it's the Salnotes 0, with bass that is slightly more present than the Chu, but lacking in bass definition. The lower mids here are ever so slightly warm, with upper mid-range free of any shouty or piercing artifacts. However, it is noticeably lacking in terms of clarity and separation. Its technical ability is also not the most impressive. Somewhat choking in more complex songs. Overall, it's kind of my least favorite out of the 4 IEMs showcased today. Getting to the Truthear Hola, you have a relatively boosted bass range focusing on the sub-bass that envelops your music without sort of bleeding into the lower mids that are neutral. And then you have a nicely presented upper mid-range that is free of grain and pleasing to my ears. The treble is also somewhat boosted to create a sense of air and sort of artificial clarity, which for the most part gives the sound some more zing. Though there are rare times where it does become just a bit too sharp. The technical ability of the Hola falls in line with its three competitors, with good headroom for EQing, so out of the 4, the Truthear Hola will be the one that is best suited for you to customize the sound with. And finally, there's the Tangzu Wan'er, with the most fun and bombastic bass presentation of the 4. This does mean that it bleeds into the lower mid-range, but said lower mids are decently warmed up and is my favorite lower mid-range presentation of the 4. Upper mids are nice and present, and with the right source, it has an impeccable separation ability that rises above its fellow $20 IEMs. Treble is where the Wan'er is somewhat lacking, as it can somewhat be rough sounding, and I would have liked to see a bit more clarity here. Overall though, I still like the tuning of the Wan'er the most. Now that you've seen all 4 of these IEMs in action, let's cap them off with some awards and some statements regarding them. So first, the Moondrop Chu takes away the title of VOG. It's the IEM that started this $20 price war, and it sets a great precedent for the other 3 IEMs to take after. With nice accessories and a metal build, even if it's one that has issues, the Moondrop Chu has a neutral, bright presentation that is still worth your attention, especially if you're big into lighter music that's not necessarily vocal-centric. Secondly, it's gonna be the Salnotes 0 with the title of The Pragmatist. It capitalized on the Chu's success, fixed up the paint chipping by trading with plastic even if it's a cheap-feeling plastic, and presented a similar sound with ever so slightly more bass presence and less piercing vocals. However, I feel that it is the weakest of the bunch in terms of technical ability, and its tuning is not to my taste. So I would recommend the other 3 IEMs in this comparison over the Salnotes 0. Up next is the Truthear Hola, which I will give the title of The Generalist. It takes the execution of the Chu and its anime waifu appeal, throws in a bass boost that is clean, as well as the welcome addition of the removable cable. Its neutral sound, along with the extra bass presence and an ability to portray good air on the top end, makes for an IEM that plays well with most genres, and it becomes a very versatile offering. If you don't have any particular preference for music and are looking for a nice start on your journey to cheap chi-fi, take a look at the Truthear Hola. And last but not least, the Tangzu Wan'er is given the title of the Wild Card. It has the most fun sound signature of the bunch, with a bombastic low end, an enjoyable mid-range, and some great separation abilities that outshine its competitors. It's not the neutral sound that the other 3 IEM strives for, and its treble does need some work, as well as its bad cable and the KZ build. But now, the Wan'er might not be to everyone's taste, but It is my personal favorite and my pick for the current budget Chi-Fi channel. Just remember to buy a different cable for it. The OG Moondrop Chu, the pragmatic Salnotes 0, the generalist Truthear Hola, and the wild card Tangzu Wan'er. 4 IMs from 4 different brands with a similar goal of vying for the $20 budget Chi-Fi throne. They all have their own appeal and trade-offs, which will make the determinant of your buying decision go down to basically personal preference. That preference for me would be the Tangzu Wan'er, wildcard as it may be, but I would definitely not disregard the other 3 contenders. Hopefully, this video will have given you a better idea as to which IM deserves your $20, and should you want to see these IMs covered in more detail, I have 4 reviews on all 4 of them on my channel, and undoubtedly many others will have covered them as well, so check those out for sure. And that is the end of yet another video. As usual, I'll leave the links to the music that I use in the description, as well as links to my Patreon where you can support me, donate to me so that I can have the funds to bring more stuff in for review as well as compare like this. Thank you to all my patrons who've supported me, and I hope that you like this kind of content so that we can get more comparisons going, As always, like the video if you like it, subscribe if you want to see more of this kind of content, hit the bell button so that the videos get delivered to your feed. If you have any questions, any suggestions, feel free to participate in the comment section. And if nothing else, then I hope to see you in the next video. This is Lumerion, signing off.